Mm.
So we're always kind of taking a look at who's showing up at Fashion Week, what is standing out style wise. Were you surprised at all to see Meghan Markle in Paris?
Well, I was surprised to see her with her feet up in the back of her car because I just think that is just such bad etiquette, full stop.
All right, let's break this all down. Because this conversation hit everything from Meghan Markle's Paris Fashion Week drama, to Prince Harry's charity scandals, to King Charles' trust test, and Prince William's emotional interview about the hardest year of his life. There's a lot to unpack here, and if you blink, you might miss the subtle way it all connects: image, legacy, and the deep divide between the royals and the Montecito duo. Let's start in Paris.
Was I surprised to see her at Paris Fashion Week? Yes and no. And I think, don't forget the Queen sat in the front row of a fashion catwalk show with Anna Wintour. So, don't forget that. But I think, we are seeing Meghan doing different things. One of her friends, I think, is creative director at Balenciaga, and that's officially why she was there, according to her people, to go and support that friend. Fair enough. She loves fashion. She is incredibly stylish. I think it's very much about getting her out there, as sort of brand Meghan, and very much sort of severing those ties with the royal family. And I think sort of feeding into that whole sense of her feeling more like a celebrity, an A-list celebrity, as she would like it to be, than necessarily a royal as such. So we're seeing them doing more glitzy, glamorous things, turning up at awards shows. They're on their way to New York right now, aren't they, to go to an awards show? So not entirely surprised. And she did create something of a splash.
Oh man, imagining the queen with her feet up on the seat in front of
It
her now too.
wouldn't,
No, no, no,
it
no,
wouldn't
goodness.
have happened.
Duncan, talk to me about your reaction to Meghan, specifically some of the negative headlines that circulated in the States. I can tell you, page six, the owned by the New York Post, was the idea of the video that's taken a stone's throw away from the death site of Princess
Yeah.
Diana. Do you think it was intentional?
Well, as I think Katie alluded to, I think it's just proof that Meghan lives in her own world, her own bubble. I mean, how insensitive. Your husband's mother died in a car crash driving along the same river in the Seine, by the side of the same river, and you're posting for your followers. I mean, it beggars belief, to be honest. And when I saw that, I just thought, what on earth is Meghan doing? But it just shows she's ploughing her own path, and to hell with Harry.
Ooh. Oh, well, there's the quote of the day. Sorry, Katie, you've got some catching up to do. That was pretty aggressive. All right, well, let's talk about Harry, because the African Parks charity has had some difficulty over the last few years. It is
Mm.
associated with Prince Harry. It's been embroiled in a significant scandal involving human rights abuses committed by its parks rangers against indigenous Baka communities in the Republic of Congo. I won't go into the abuses because I don't want to get flagged on YouTube, but it's SA, torture, things like that they're being accused of. And they actually went to Tony Blair's wife's law firm, Sherry Blair, Omnia Strategy, and they asked for an independent investigation. And Omnia Strategy acknowledged that there were multiple abuses that had taken place, but they would
Mm.
not release a full finding of the report at the request of African Parks. So we don't know exactly what is confirmed, what they could not confirm. This week, Chad's environment minister gave a 4-page statement announcing the end of the country's 15-year partnership with African Parks. He accused the charity of a disrespectful attitude towards the government. He also said that there'd been a resurgence in poaching and a lack of investment at the reserve managed by the conservation group. Katie, you just said it yourself. Harry's on his way to collect a Humanitarian of the Year award in New York
Yeah.
regarding mental health, but he's lost Senebale this year. African Parks is you know, potentially crumbling.
Meghan Markle shows up front row at a Balenciaga show. Yes, the same brand that's been struggling with controversy, and she's sitting just a few seats away from Anna Wintour. That's not an accident. That's a message. Her people say she was there to support a friend who happens to be the creative director.
I'm being dramatic, but African Parks is
Well,
clearly not.
it's certainly embroiled in a controversy, isn't it? And now, as you were saying, Kinsey, I mean, they have acknowledged that some of their rangers have been found guilty of committing some of these serious crimes. There hasn't been any publication of an internal investigation, and yet Harry remains, I think, on the board of that charity. I think he joined the board in 2023. He was at a big event with them in 2024. He hasn't announced he's stepping down. I mean, I think, Duncan and I were both in Africa together. I think it was back in 2010, Duncan, when we were out there seeing Harry's work with Bali. And I mean, I was truly shocked. I think we all were when he stood down from that charity amidst, all the rows with the chair and allegations of bullying. And it felt so sad for Harry to have to step down from a charity that has, it's no exaggeration to say, saved a country and was going to be one of his legacy pieces of work. And I think he will be very concerned by what he's hearing about African parks. I think, Meghan might want to be tone deaf in certain things, and driving past that site in Paris might be an example of being tone deaf, but I don't think they can afford to be tone deaf when it comes to their charity work, because this is really, really important. And as you say, going off to collect this humanitarian award, well, that's fantastic, but the timing couldn't be more uncomfortable. And there are obviously some big questions to be asked, and I suppose the first one is, what does Harry know, and is he going to continue to sit on the board of African Parks? He's been there since 2017. Without a doubt, this charity's done some amazing work. But for Chad to cut ties, they say because of a resurgence of poaching, there are claims of financial misconduct. These are really serious allegations and things that Harry can't afford to be tone deaf, and I'm sure he won't be. I think the traction for Harry seems to be going in a forward, progressive way. He's not going to want something like this to unsettle that work, I would have thought.
Well, Duncan, Katie mentions the importance of Prince Harry speaking out or acknowledging it. He has kept his head down throughout this investigation. And there was an event in New York with African Parks Charity where the media was shut out. They did not allow any media in. Do you think he will speak out against this, or do you think it's like one of the convenient never complain, never explain moments where Harry and Meghan actually embrace that strategy?
Well, look, Harry loves Africa. He fell in love with Africa when he was a young boy, and he has tried his hardest to attach himself to decent charities, or even set up his own charities to try and make a difference. As Katie said, in Lesotho, the work that Bali did was a game changer for the country. This is a body blow for Prince Harry. I don't think there's any question about that. And it shows the difficulty that royals have when they attach themselves to charities. And then it turns out that perhaps, allegedly, the charities aren't quite on the ground as watertight perhaps as they might be. So I think this will really, really worry Harry, and and frustrate him and make him angry. And it's yet another African charity, frankly, that's being ticked off the list, which isn't great for a prince that says he loves Africa.
Katie, I'm sorry to like fixate on this specific topic, but when you think about the problems that have happened with African parks, do you ever connect the dots that like this is why the palace is so important, or the men in gray suits, because they usually do the due diligence, or somebody rushes in and says, before this gets any worse, like you either fix it or we're pulling our royal from representing you. Is that kind of where the palace is beneficial to these personalities, that they have fixers that try to swoop in and clean stuff up before it can explode in a big exclusive in the Daily Mail?
But let's be honest, this wasn't about friendship. It was about visibility. Meghan's been trying to carve out her post-royal identity for years now, and being seen at one of the world's biggest fashion events, shoulder to shoulder with fashion royalty, was her way of saying, I belong here. This whole conversation paints a vivid picture of the two royal worlds colliding.
Well, I mean, yes, to a degree, that is the case, but not always. And the king, when he was Prince of Wales, found himself embroiled in quite a few questionable charity affiliations. There were issues over access to the then Prince of Wales in return for charitable donations. I think as Duncan says, it's a difficult and it can be quite a murky relationship sometimes, that idea of a royal affiliation with a charity. Now, when it's genuine and it's bona fide and it's authentic, it's brilliant and it works phenomenally well. When there's discord and fracture and fallouts, as you saw with Centre Bali, it had a really sorry ending for Prince Harry. I mean, I think Prince Harry's got really good people around him. He's got a good team around him, and I think they will be looking at this. As I say, I don't think it's a case of them ignoring this or having that, never complain, never explain. We're not going to explore this strategy. I don't think that will apply to this. I think Harry will want his people to be all over it. And of course, African Parks isn't just in Chad, it's in 12 other countries. Now, if other countries start dropping or cutting their ties with the charity, then I think it's going to that. Then you've got a more serious issue. So possibly it's just a case of let's wait and see. I think he'll be wanting answers to questions. I think probably at the moment his focus is going and getting that humanitarian award, but this is something that will be being looked at, and he will not be ignoring it because I think it could be potentially very damaging to him.
Hi, all. Kinsey here. I want to share today's brilliant sponsor with you and tell you why I love Peak. Peak has taken a modern science-based approach to wellness, creating tea crystals and superfood blends made with exceptionally clean ingredients. Their products are all about making daily health habits easier and more effective for us, whether that's supporting digestion, glowing skin, steady energy, or just feeling your best. Personally, hydration was always a struggle for me. I drank plenty of water, experimented with electrolytes, and even stuck to the right skincare routine. Yet, I still dealt with dry skin, brain fog, and restless nights. That shifted when I started Peak's Deep Hydration Protocol. In the morning, I use BT Fountain, their beauty electrolyte. It helps hydrate from within, smooth skin, and gives me lasting energy. In the evening, I switch to RE Fountain, the calming electrolyte, which contains a gentle form of magnesium that eases tension and helps me get deep, restful sleep without feeling groggy the next day. What sets it apart for me is its purity, no sugar, no fillers, no artificial flavors, just real ingredients like lemon juice and beetroot. Within a week, I noticed my skin looking more plump and hydrated, my focus sharper, and my overall energy had improved. If you want to give it a try, I've got a special link in the show notes for you, 20% off for life, plus a free gift with my link, peaklife.com/Kinsey. That's PIQUE life.com/Kinsey. Now back to the show. All right, Duncan, Katie mentioned it. Prince Harry, Meghan Markle will be honored with Project Healthy Minds Humanitarians of the Year Award at the organization's World Mental Health Day Gala this Thursday. This is happening in New York City. They're also going to participate in Project Healthy Minds World Mental Health Day Festival on Friday, October 10th. Do you think that they're going to get as much pushback for this Humanitarian of the Year award as Prince Harry got for the Pat Tillman Award last year? You saw people signing, petitions saying that they're not worthy. Or do you think that this might fly under the radar a little bit based on bigger issues when it comes to headlines in the news?
Well, I mean, they get an award. Great. It's good publicity for the organizations they support and the work that they do. I'm sure they'll really revel in it. But it just goes to show that, I'll probably get in trouble for saying this, Kinsey, sorry. But,
That's why we have you on, Duncan.
But you kind of wonder whether these award judges and the people that organize them are just inviting people that are going to make the whole profile of their awards evening and their ceremony go higher. And I'm a bit of a cynic on that. And that's not Harry and Meghan's fault, but I'm a bit cynical because I just struggle, frankly, when I see stuff like this, and I just think, well, they've invited them because they're box office. Have they invited them because they are really genuinely worthy of the award?
Katie, you covered Hollywood for a long time too. That's kind of the name of the game, right? You want the big star, you invite the big stars because the big stars, or at least somebody that has name recognition, will also get attention for your brand or your company. And it seems like a classic strategy, right?
Of course, and if you're going to host a gala dinner in New York and it's going to be, a little bit of stardust sprinkled on it, of course, you're going to need some A-list names there. But, I do think it does something of a disservice to suggest it's only them there for their names because, of course, they've supported this project over the years, and
But for 2 years, right? 2 years, and
yeah,
you're already
they
getting a Humanitarian of the Year award, and you've been there for
well.
2 years.
Meghan is leaning hard into celebrity culture, luxury fashion, high-profile friendships, and image curation. Harry is stuck between heartfelt activism and PR disaster, unable to shake off the shadow of controversy. Charles is cautiously opening the door, but with limits. William is proving that steady, quiet authenticity might just outlast noise. And that's really what this comes down to, legacy versus attention. William and Catherine are playing chess, strategic, patient, focus on the next generation. Harry and Meghan are playing checkers, quick moves, flashy wins, but no long-term positioning. So while Meghan might steal headlines with a front-row Balenciaga moment, and Harry might grab an award in New York, it's William's calm, grounded presence, the dad teaching his kids to climb trees instead of scroll TikTok, that's winning hearts. He's building something that will last decades. They are chasing moments that last a news cycle. And that's the real royal divide.